Hey guys, what's going on? It's Craig Patterson for DS Sports as always, and we're back, and this time we're moving away from football. We're moving into the world of boxing, and we're going to talk about the biggest rematch of 2019, one of the biggest fights of 2019. It's going to be Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua 2. And there's a lot of talk about this one. It's going to be a huge event. It's going to be really historic. It's going to be quite a mad night. It's on December 7th. It's going to be in Saudi Arabia. We've talked about Saudi Arabia hosting previous boxing fights, including the World Boxing Super Series final, the Super Middleweight final last year between George Groves and Callum Smith, where we had the WBA and Ring Magazine belts on the line, as well as the Muhammad Ali trophy. And we've also just had one recently with Amir Khan going out there and getting a big money fight against Billy Dib. He was scheduled to fight somebody else, then it was Billy Dib came in, but there was big events happening there, and this one is going to be even bigger and better than ever, so they're saying, but it's going to be just mad. It's one of the biggest, most anticipated fights of the year. It's finally confirmed, it's finally got the details, we finally know what it's going to be, and well, I personally can't wait for this. It was a brilliant opening, brilliant first fight. I'm a massive AJ fan. I was shell shocked that night. 4 AM, 5 AM. I was in my room. I was chilling with my girlfriend. I watched the fight. She was going on about me for reacting like this and that, and I was in shock that night. It was just mental. But now we get to see the rematch. There was a lot of talk behind it. We're gonna talk about different things as well. But before then, make sure to hit like in the video, comment any opinions you've got on the fight, how it's going to go, what we think of the location, of different things we'll talk about in the video. And remember to subscribe to the channel DS Sports Scotland. I've changed the name slightly. There's a lot of DS Sports flying about, so I've just made sure DS Sports Scotland, subscribe, share everywhere. But yeah, we're going to get into all the talking points, but remember to do like, comment and subscribe to the video. So yeah, it is in Saudi Arabia. We had the news conference held on Monday. Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing promoter, hosted the news conference with Omar Khalil. It was I think it was skill set management, events management out in Saudi Arabia who are going to be promoting the logistics of the fight. We're like the sort of third party in this. They were the ones that they were speaking to, trying to get it out to Saudi Arabia. And there's a lot of questions behind it. Obviously, Saudi Arabia, we know there's not the best human rights record. It's kind of eased a lot recently, especially when it comes to women, and you know, whether they're allowed in public, they have to be accompanied by a man, all this kind of stuff. So it's a case of how will this work for travelling fans, especially from England as well. But before we talk about all that, there was obviously the talk about, would it be at MSG? Anthony Joshua publicly said he wanted to right his wrongs. He wanted to go back to the scene of the crime and solve it, and gain his retribution again, like redeem himself, get his redemption. And then there was talk about bringing it to Cardiff. Obviously Millennium Stadium was the Principality as it's now known. Talking about obviously the sort of indoor stadium, as you would call it. Obviously there's a lot of fights that have happened there before with AJ, obviously, sorry I keep saying obviously. The Carlos Takam fight, Joseph Parker fight, obviously drawing 80,000 crowds, both nights, sellout stadium crowds. Obviously a good hunting ground for AJ, but of course he moved to the States. He's now moved to Saudi Arabia to go and win his titles back. There's a lot of money in this, we'll get to that later on, but yep, going back to the whole Saudi Arabia situation, a lot of talking points about this one. Obviously the human rights record, like we've said, but Eddie Hearn has reassured everybody that there won't be a problem. Anyone can go to the event. It's not going to be ludicrously expensive. They're not looking for a huge purse. They're not charging $200-300, or obviously the countries, I think it's dirhams out there, I might be wrong, don't quote me on that one. I know it's like dirhams in the United Arab Emirates, so I don't know if dirhams is the currency in Saudi Arabia. But yeah, it's an interesting one. So I personally quite like it. I mean, it's the World Heavyweight Championship. It needs to go. I like it going all over the world, and it's something that AJ's talked about pretty much since he started becoming world champion. When he became mainly since he fought Klitschko. Obviously, that was the big defining fight. That was when he became the man of the heavyweight division, because obviously Tyson Fury was inactive. He was going through his issues. Deontay Wilder wasn't as big back then. It was basically a case of AJ was the man, and then obviously Andy Ruiz and Joseph Parker fought for the WBO title. I think it was December. I could be wrong. I think it was December before that, where the WBO became vacant because of obviously Tyson Fury being inactive and getting his belt stripped, and because he failed doping tests and was unable to fight, got a doping ban, and obviously just returned last year. I need to stop saying obviously, I'm sorry guys. But yes, going back, it was something that AJ had always wanted to do, and yeah, it was a case of he wanted to go everywhere. He talked about going to. He obviously wanted to go to America. That the DAZN deal opened that up for him, and he's always talked about going to Nigeria, because that's obviously somewhere he's a descendant from. He's got family back in Nigeria. There's a lot of his roots in Nigeria. He's always talked about. He's talked about everywhere. Because he said he's the unified heavyweight champion of the world, that he has to take the championship to the world, so to speak. He obviously had different opinions. He was like, when I think he fought Povetkin or he fought Parker, he then said afterwards he didn't want to leave the UK because they'd built such a huge fan base in the UK. But then since the April 13th date, where he had Wilder in his mind, then Wilder took the Fury fight, and then took another fight after that. I think it was the Brazil fight he then took in the end of May. So the April 13th date fell through, especially after I think they then offered Tyson Fury the fight, but the money wasn't there, or the deal wasn't right according to Frank Warren and MTK, Fury's representatives and promoter respectively. And then obviously there was no money in it for Dillian White either, so that's where the Wembley April 13th date fell through. And then there was kind of really only one option, and that was to go to the States and fight Gerald Miller. And then Gerald Miller, the most scandalous doping violation case probably in boxing history. Now that was somebody who tried to cheat. There's absolutely no question about that. 3 different substances he failed. I think one of them was something that you could only inject, like you had to purposely inject that into your body. So he knowingly took that substance, and I'm assuming he then knew that was cheating the system. And then there's obviously a lot of talks about VADA checks and all this kind of stuff, but I'm kind of going off on a tangent. Went to the States, and now he's going to be going to Saudi Arabia, and I really like it. I think this is a move that it's seismic. It's something that hasn't been done before, and it was like Eddie Hearn said in his press conference, and he said, I mean, I watch a lot of IFL interviews, the IFL channel on YouTube, so I also watch a lot of that. So with Kugan Cassius, Umar Ahmed, Andy McCart, people like that. So yeah, I think, and it's like Eddie Hearn said, there's a world outside of the UK and the US, because obviously there's me going on saying obviously, there's a lot of fights that happen in the UK. Obviously again, I will stop it, I swear. There's a lot of fights that happen in the UK. There's a lot of shows that happen, different things, especially with the new deal that Matchroom Boxing have with DAZN and Matchroom, and they have to put on the equivalent of a show every week, and it's insane really, especially now they're going to Germany, Italy, Spain, Mexico. They're in Mexico I think this weekend for a show, or maybe the week after, next week, before they have the Lomachenko Campbell card, which is huge. We might talk about that very soon in another episode. But I think this is a brilliant move for Matchroom. I think it's and there's a lot of terms behind it, because but we'll talk about those in a minute. We're talking about Saudi Arabia. There's going to be a purpose-built arena for the fight. I think they're saying 12 to 15,000. Well, I think it's 12, then 13, potentially 14, and more. I think the maximum they're talking about is 15 to 16,000 in Diriyah. I think they said it was like 5 minutes outside of Riyadh, the capital in Saudi Arabia. A lot of events have happened there before, with the likes of Formula E, WWE have hosted the greatest Royal Rumble pay-per-view there. Then there's been different concerts that have happened. They talked about 50 Cent, David Guetta, amongst others as well, excuse me. But this is the biggest one. This is one that is going to generate the most amount of public interest, I would say, with it being such a huge event, like such a important rematch, an important match in boxing. This could be where Andy Ruiz cements his status as the world heavyweight champion, the unified champion, and that will mean there will most definitely be an undisputed champion, probably towards the end of 2020, because we've now heard that there was an IBF. It wasn't sure if the IBF would grant an exemption for the fight, so because obviously they've got Kubrat Pulev waiting in the wings, looking at the winner of the shot, because obviously we're looking at the IBF, the WBA and the WBO world titles are on the line here. So we're talking 3 different governing bodies who have mandatories waiting, because we thought the WBO would come first. That's clearly not the case. So the IBF have said, right, we'll let you have this fight. This has to take place no later than the date that you've given us, the December 7th date, and you have to fight the mandatory in Kubrat Pulev before May the 30th next year. So that will mean if AJ regains his belts, then there will not be a trilogy fight straight away, and arguably rightly so, because it needs to be the mandatories called. Because obviously if there was to be a trilogy, that means the IBF would not be at stake, so it would be a 2-belt unification instead of a 3-belt unification, or 4 belts if you count the IBO, of course. So there's that. We're also talking about there's different things, there's so many different things you can talk about. Like we said before, if Ruiz wins, then we're talking about an undisputed fight being very easy to make, because Andy Ruiz is with Al Heyman, and so is Deontay Wilder, WBC champion, so that makes the fight so much easier to make. Just a case of getting the money right. And the money's there, of course, like the money will obviously be there, because it's an undisputed fight. It's the first ever 4-belt unification in history. Like, the last unified undisputed heavyweight champion was Mike Tyson, I think, in the late 90s. So that was before, I think it was the WBO became recognised as a world championship, as a major world championship belt. It's not like the WBU or the IBO or the IBA or anything really off the wall like that. I think it's a WBF belt as well somewhere, but yeah, so it's quite insane to think that we now know what we now know it's going to happen, and it's quite amazing to think that. So yeah, obviously we know now. Obviously, we know in the UK you'll be able to watch on Sky Sports Box Office, of course. US you'll be able to watch on DAZN. It's going to be an earlier time for everyone, especially in the States. We're talking about, I mean, we're talking about a tea time first bell, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, late afternoon, evening on December 7th. In the UK you're talking 9:30. So a great time. It's prime time, because I think it's going to be like a midnight opening bell, and I think it's only like a 2 or 3 hour time difference in the winter to Saudi Arabia from the UK. So it's going to be really accessible for fight fans on the day. It's going to be a pretty stacked card, I can imagine. There's going to be a lot of fighters keen to get on there. Will they have the Taylor Pursoon rematch on there? I think that's got to happen. If it won't happen on the card, it should happen sooner, because I thought Pursoon won that fight against Katie Taylor. I thought it was a brilliant fight. It was by far the most entertaining women's fight I've ever seen. I haven't watched many, arguably. I've watched one live when I was at WBSS semi-final in Glasgow between Taylor and Baranchik. So and obviously, and Naya Inoue in that card, that was amazing. But anyway, so I've watched one live. I've watched a couple of Katie Taylor's fights. I've watched, I think, Clarissa Shields once, but I've never seen a fight quite that entertaining, quite that amazing. And I thought Pursoon won the fight by at least around probably 2 or 3. So I'm hoping we'll get to see that again. We might see Callum Smith, although that's very unlikely. We're looking at maybe him going into October, and we looked at him potentially middle September because of timing. Eddie Hearn has said that. And we'll see who else is on there. We might see like Kilbrook come back. Derek Chisora maybe. He's just fought Spilka, got through that, and brilliant. That was a brilliant win for him. We're waiting to see what happens with Dillian White, although it's unlikely we'll see him on that card. We might do, because there's a lot of money in there, so there might be enough to maybe put him on the card. But and then it saves Sky Sports then putting out another pay-per-view, so we'll see what happens there. I can imagine it's going to be a great card. Whoever will get we'll probably see title fights, obviously the likes of probably Josh Kelly, although he's kind of been halted in his tracks after that draw against Ray Robinson, I think, at MSG, of course, on the Joshua Ruiz card, the first card. But I think it's such an interesting matchup. Like, how there's been talk of Josh has lost a lot of weight. He seems to have slimmed down a lot, so I don't know if that means he's looking at cardio and trying to live. Because we've seen he has had cardio issues before. The Klitschko fight, he struggled to really get into his feet after the Ruiz knockdown. And when the going gets really tough, we saw him go 12 rounds against Parker, but he schooled that fight. He got into a rhythm. He really wasn't really tested in that fight. So it's interesting to see what Josh is going to do, how he's going to go about this current camp. Like how much early before is he going to go to Saudi Arabia? It's probably not going to be as bad because there's not much of a time difference. We might leave it until the week before or something like that, and he might work in British time out there. And then we talked about before with the location, because obviously sorry, this is terrible. Ruiz had publicly came out and said, I don't want it in the UK, and there was a lot of to and fro about. AJ had said, well, if I went to Mexico, I think it was Ruiz's uncle was mentioned, could have been the ref, and he would still get beat. Like, it wouldn't have mattered to AJ because he's that sure he would win the rematch. So, and then from there it'd be like, well, Ruiz was like, well, come to Mexico then. Come to Mexico. But then there was the legal side of the discussion was that Eddie Hearn and AJ's team would still be in control of the rematch. That was agreed in the previous contract. So as soon as the rematch clause was triggered, AJ's team were still in control and they would still be the set purse in the fight. So there was, and then there was obviously the rumours that came out when the fight was announced that, because we've been told that AJ's purse is $9 million, and that was agreed in the first contract, like we said. And Andy Ruiz has come in and said that's not enough. Those rumours have been firmly denied. The contracts have been signed. Andy Ruiz is okay with the terms that have been agreed in the rematch, although Andy Ruiz didn't have much of a say in those discussions contractually. So it's interesting. We'll probably find out more in detail when the press conferences begin. We've been told it's the start of September. We've been told there are 3 to take place. One in Saudi Arabia, one in London and one in New York. So obviously the site of the first fight, obviously in London because it's a Matchroom boxing show, and then obviously the venue itself. So it's going to be a brilliant build-up. It's going to be such a highly anticipated rematch. The world of boxing will literally stop in that moment, and I personally can't wait. It's going to be such an incredible show, an historic show, one that will change, one that will define the heavyweight division and where it's going in the future. So I can't wait. I hope you guys can't wait. That'll wrap it up from me just now. We'll come back. I'm going to move on back. I'll move back to my football reviews within the next couple of days. We'll look at the top flight in Scotland, the Football League in Scotland, and we might look at the Premier League, although I'm not overly sure if we'll be able to go about that. And then I'm hoping to do another boxing show potentially at the weekend, probably into next week, where we just summarise what's happened in the world of boxing recently and where it's going to go, what's to look forward to, and what might happen towards the end of the year, especially looking around the time of this rematch at the start of December. So that'll do it from me just now. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to leave a like on the video, comment anything at all, anything that is of opinion to you guys, whether it be the terms in the fight, whether there's things that I haven't mentioned that are interesting. Who do you think will win it? Of course, who's going to win it? Strengths, weaknesses, whatever you like, guys. And subscribe to DS Sports Scotland as well. This has been my first DS Sports Boxing show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys very soon. Hopefully not too far in the distant future. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you guys very soon.